For 18 years, I, Connor Dempsey, 38, believed I had it all, the perfect wife, the perfect life. But that was a fundamental lie I'd unknowingly lived for half a decade. It all unraveled at 2:47 a.m. when Stephanie's phone buzzed on the nightstand. One text message from her boss, Troy, changed everything. What did I find? Explicit details about that thing you did with your tongue, hotel room bookings for Thursday, and cruel jokes about me. Connor suspects nothing, poor clueless guy. My entire world imploded within 48 hours. Yet, that very morning, Stephanie sat across from me at breakfast, sipping her coffee, humming a tune. She had no idea that the life she'd so carefully built on lies was about to come crashing down. Before I tell you what happened next, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story resonates with you, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Smile. This is your last shot. The text message arrived at 2:47 a.m. And that's when I knew my marriage was over. I'm Connor Dempsey, 38 years old, ex-Boston cop turned carpenter. Evidence first, emotions later. That's what kept me sane during my 12 years on the force, and it would keep me sane now. The worst part wasn't the affair. It was reading how stupid they thought I was. Connor suspects nothing. Remind me what he looks like again. Stephanie paused while pulling on her workout clothes. Why? Just curious. You talk about him a lot lately. Jamie came home from school around 3:30, dumping his backpack by the door and raiding the refrigerator. My son was tall for his age, all elbows and knees, with Stephanie's dark hair and my stubborn jaw. Dad, you okay? You look like someone stole your favorite hammer. I forced a smile. Family photos covered every surface, including several of Stephanie and me from happier times. Our wedding day, Jamie's birth, Christmas mornings, all lies now tainted by her betrayal. So, what's the plan? Paul returned with 2 bottles of Sam Adams. Still working on it. What the heck? Paul held up a hand. Keep listening. I know what it's like to live a double life, sweetheart. To smile at your husband while planning to meet another man. I should have told you then, Connor. Should have warned you, but I was a coward. I didn't want you to know about my own mistakes, and I hoped maybe I was wrong about Stephanie. Maybe she really had ended it. My mother's voice grew sad. If Stephanie and Troy thought they were dealing with a clueless carpenter, they were about to learn how wrong they were. First stop, Stephanie's office building in downtown Boston. I parked across the street in my work truck, baseball cap pulled low, and waited. At 11:30 a.m., Stephanie emerged with a tall man who matched the photos from my mother's envelope. Troy Melman looked exactly like Central Casting's idea of a sleazy sales manager, expensive suit, perfect hair, the kind of confident swagger that screamed, "I've never faced real consequences for anything." They walked to a coffee shop 2 blocks away, sitting at a corner table where they thought no one could see them. Must be a big contract. Huge. Could set us up for the whole year. She finally put the phone down and looked at me. Really looked at me. We settled on the couch, her head on my shoulder, just like old times. But I couldn't focus on the screen. All I could think about was the text messages, the photos, the years of deception. Connor. Stephanie's voice was soft, sleepy. They were planning a future together. A future that involved destroying 2 marriages and 4 children's lives so they could play house. The final insult was an email thread titled "The Connor Problem." Stephanie and Troy discussing how to handle my inevitable discovery of their relationship. Troy suggested making me look unstable, maybe even dangerous. Her receptionist led me to a conference room where Maura was waiting with coffee and a legal pad covered in notes. "Let's see what we're working with," she said after the pleasantries were over. I spread everything across the table, printed emails, photographs, bank statements showing hotel charges, phone records, my mother's tape recording, and a timeline I'd constructed showing 5 years of deception. Maura whistled low as she reviewed the evidence. This is thorough work, Connor. You think she doesn't know? Trust me, she doesn't. I've seen this pattern before. The betrayed spouse is always the last to find out. We spent 2 hours planning strategy. I work with your husband at the medical supply company. It wasn't technically true, but it got her attention. Oh, is everything okay? Is Troy all right? He's fine, but I was hoping we could talk. 22 years, and he throws it away for some office hoe. I'm filing for divorce next week, I said. My lawyer thinks you should do the same. Oh, I'm definitely filing for divorce, but first, I'm going to make his life heck. Linda's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. Can you? Because I'd love to hear how you explain 5 years of hotel receipts or these text messages. I pulled out my phone and read from her conversation with Troy. That thing you did with your tongue. Jesus. I pulled out the hotel photographs. I saw you pretty clearly. Stephanie stared at the photos, her face crumbling. Connor, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I pulled my arm free and headed for the door. Where are you going? To pick up Jamie. He's staying at Paul's tonight. Connor, wait. Her hair disheveled. Her usually perfect makeup smeared. They fired me, she said without preamble. I heard you did this, you and that witch, Linda Melman. I documented your affair. Come over and we'll use the kitchen table. Stephanie flinched with each quote. Stop it. He's so clueless. He probably thinks the wet spot on the sheets is from his own sweat. I never betrayed Jamie. You betrayed his father. You betrayed this family. You think that doesn't affect him? Stephanie was quiet for a long moment. Jamie's voice was carefully controlled, but I could see the anger building behind his eyes. Yes. With her boss? Yes. And you have proof? Thanks for the colorful analogy, I said dryly. I'm serious. Stephanie didn't just cheat on you. She cheated on your whole family. Jamie has every right to be angry. She showed up at Paul's house on a Wednesday evening, pounding on the door and screaming about her rights as a mother. Paul called me at work and I raced over to find her standing in the front yard disheveled and desperate. Connor, thank God. Tell your brother to let me see my son. Jamie doesn't want to see you right now. But I wasn't. I mean, it was consensual. Doesn't matter. Company policy is company policy. The fight went out of her then. You okay, Dad? I will be. Good, because I have an idea about what we should do next. What's that? Jamie grinned, and for the first time in weeks, he looked like a kid again. Real things that last. I smiled at that. That's very philosophical for a 16-year-old. I'm wise beyond my years. Comes from having a dad who taught me the difference between talking and doing. And until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect suburban life. White picket fence, 2-car garage, a wife who made 6 figures selling medical equipment, and a 16-year-old son who actually talked to me. The American dream right there in Brooklyn, Massachusetts. Wrong. The phone buzzed again on Stephanie's nightstand. He's too busy with his Littlewood projects. Poor guy. Probably thinks you're working late to support his dead-end carpentry business. He's sweet, but so clueless, like a big dumb golden retriever. I wanted to wake her up right then. He's just, you know, typical sales manager. Tall, dark-haired gym rat. She laughed, but it sounded forced. Why all the questions about my boss? No reason, just making conversation with my wife. Just thinking about work stuff. How was school? Same as always. Boring. He grabbed a soda and PLPPD down at the kitchen table. I need more information first. Know thy enemy and all that. Speaking of knowing things, Paul sat down his beer and looked uncomfortable. I found something today up in the attic. What kind of something? To lie so smoothly that even you start believing it. I did it to your father for 3 years before guilt finally stopped me. The tape crackled with static, then continued. Stephanie came to me in 2018 asking for advice about a work situation. She was having feelings for her boss. But she didn't. I saw them together at the Marriott downtown in 2019, kissing in the parking lot like teenagers. Your wife and a man who definitely wasn't you. I took pictures. Paul reached into the box and pulled out an envelope. But I had a clear view through the window and my old police telephoto lens captured every intimate touch, every lingering kiss, every moment of their public betrayal. After coffee, they returned to the office building. I followed at a distance, watching them take the elevator to the 15th floor, Stephanie's floor. Through the lobby windows, I could see them talking with other employees, playing their professional roles, the perfect act. I spent the afternoon researching Troy online. Connor, are you feeling all right? You seem different lately. Different how? I don't know. Distant, distracted. Yeah, I love you. You know that, right? I looked down at her face, so peaceful and innocent in the flickering light of the television. Once upon a time, those words would have melted my heart. Now they just made me sick. Stephanie thought they could manipulate me into asking for the divorce myself. Maybe even giving up custody of Jamie. They had it all figured out. Every angle covered every contingency planned except one. They underestimated me. Very thorough. 12 years as a cop. Old habits. It shows. She picked up one of the email printouts. Mara would handle the legal filings while I gathered more evidence. She also suggested I document any attempts by Stephanie to manipulate or gaslight me. They're going to escalate once they realize, you know, Mara warned. Be ready for lies, threats, maybe even false accusations. Keep your phone recording whenever you're alone with her. It's about a work situation that affects both our families. Linda's expression shifted from concern to confusion. I'm sorry. I was just heading out to pick up my kids. This will only take a few minutes, but it's important. You said they work together. She's in sales. He's her manager. Perfect. I know exactly how to handle this. Stephanie's knees buckled. She grabbed the kitchen counter for support, staring at me like I'd grown a second head. How did you? When did you? Does it matter? The question is, what happens now? Connor, please let me explain. It evolved. 5 years. Stephanie, this didn't just happen. You planned it. You lied about it. But I was already gone. The next morning, Linda Melman called me at 7 a.m. It's done, she said without preamble. What's done? I forwarded all the evidence to Troy's boss, his HR department, and the CEO of their biggest client also posted the photos on his Facebook page before he could stop me. I sat up straighter. Jesus, Linda, that's exactly what he deserves. Linda shared the evidence with your employers. You did this to yourself. Stephanie collapsed into the armchair across from me. 5 years with the company, Connor. 5 years of building my reputation, my client list, my career, gone. All gone. I said stop. That last one's my favorite. Really captures your respect for our marriage. Stephanie was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. I'm sorry, Connor. Then she looked up at me with something like hope in her eyes. If I end things with Troy completely, if I go to therapy, if I do whatever it takes to earn back your trust, would you consider staying married? I studied her face, looking for any sign of genuine remorse. All I saw was desperation. Do you love him? I slid a folder across the table. Pictures, emails, text messages, hotel receipts, everything. Jamie flipped through the evidence, his expression growing darker with each page. When he finished, he closed the folder and looked at me with eyes that seemed far too old for 16. What happens now? Jamie nodded. I want to live with you, Dad, full time. Are you sure? That's a big decision. I'm sure I can visit Mom on weekends if the court says I have to, but I want my primary residence to be with you. He's 16. He doesn't get to decide. Actually, in Massachusetts, he does. At 16, the court considers a child's preference in custody matters. Stephanie's face crumpled. She released my arm and stepped back, looking lost and broken. I've lost everything, she whispered. Yes, you have. My job, my husband, my son, my home. Yes. I think we should build something. Just you and me. Something new. I put my arm around my son's shoulders and smiled back. I think that's a great idea. My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it, expecting a message from a client or maybe Paul asking about dinner plans. Instead, it was from Stephanie. I miss you both. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I hope someday we can be a family again. She was dead asleep, mouth slightly open, looking innocent as a lamb. I'd been lying awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, wondering why my wife of 18 years suddenly needed to work late every Tuesday and Thursday. Why she'd started going to the gym at 6 a.m. Why she'd changed her phone password after 15 years of it being Jamie's birthday. Another buzz, then another. Wanted to shove the phone in her face and watch her scramble for excuses. But I'd learned patience in my cop days. Rush the bust, lose the case. I needed to know everything before I made my move. I slipped back into bed, my mind racing. She kissed me again, longer this time, and I wondered if she was practicing her lies or genuinely felt guilty. Didn't matter. The damage was done. After she left for her gym session, or which I now knew was code for morning quickies with Troy, I called my brother Paul. Connor, it's barely 7 a.m. Mom texted me. Says she's working late again tonight. Yeah, she mentioned that. Jamie studied my face with the intensity only teenagers could manage. You sure you're okay? Come on, I'll show you. We climbed the narrow stairs to the 3rd floor, then up the pull-down ladder into the attic. The space was cramped and dusty, filled with boxes of Christmas decorations and childhood memories. Paul led me to a corner where he'd set up a card table with an old tape recorder and a shoebox. I was looking for Mom's jewelry box. She said wanted to know how to handle it. I told her to quit her job or transfer departments. She laughed and said I was being old-fashioned. My hands were shaking now. 2018, 5 years ago. Inside were grainy photographs of Stephanie and a tall, dark-haired man embracing next to a black BMW. Troy, I'm sorry, sweetheart. I failed you as a mother, just like Stephanie is failing you as a wife. But at least now you know the truth. Don't let her take you for a fool like I took your father. Social media gave me everything I needed. Married to a woman named Linda. 2 kids in high school. Lived in a McMansion in Newton. Posted gym selfies constantly. She moved closer, running her hand along my arm. Maybe we should plan a weekend away, just the 2 of us, reconnect. The irony was breathtaking. She was offering me a romantic getaway while carrying on an affair. Either she was a sociopath or she genuinely believed her own lies. I love you, too. I lied. The next day was Thursday, hotel day, according to their text history. I followed Stephanie's car from our house to the Marriott downtown, the same hotel my mother had photographed them at 5 years ago. Some things never change. I printed everything, organized it into folders, made multiple copies. Then I called Maura Lynn, my old partner's wife, who'd become a family law attorney after leaving the force. Connor, it's been ages. How are Stephanie and Jamie? That's actually why I'm calling. This discussion about making you look unstable. That's concerning. Sounds like they're planning to paint you as an unfit parent. Can they do that? They can try, but with this evidence, they'd have a hard time convincing any judge that you're the problem in this marriage. I left the law office feeling better than I had in weeks. For the first time since discovering the affair, I had a plan. More importantly, I had an ally who understood the system. That afternoon, I drove to Newton to scout Troy's neighborhood. The house was exactly what I'd expected. Something in my tone must have convinced her. She stepped aside and let me into the foyer. What kind of work situation? I pulled out one of the hotel photographs, the clearest shot of Troy and Stephanie kissing in the parking lot. Linda's face went white. We talked for another 20 minutes, comparing notes and coordinating our approach. Linda was smarter than her suburban housewife appearance suggested, and her anger matched my own. By the time I left, we had a plan that would hit both cheaters where it hurt most, their careers. That evening, Stephanie came home with another story about working late, but this time, I was ready for her. How was your day, honey? It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been with your boss for 5 years while I work my tail off to support this family. It's not like that. Troy and I, we have a connection, something real, something deeper than just what. And you made me look like a fool. What are you going to do? I'm divorcing you and I'm taking Jamie. No. The word came out as a shriek. His phone's been ringing non-stop since 6 a.m. I can hear him screaming from the garage where he's been sleeping since yesterday. Sleeping in the garage. I changed the locks and cancelled his credit cards and transferred half our savings to my personal account. Linda's voice was ice-cold satisfaction. How do you think I felt when I found out about 5 years of lies? That's different. How is it different? Because she struggled for words. Because you will be fine. I'm so sorry. I know I hurt you. I know I betrayed your trust, but please, can't we try to work through this? No. Why not? What? Troy, do you love him? Stephanie hesitated just a fraction too long. It's complicated. It's not complicated. I'm divorcing your mother. We'll have to sell the house, split custody, figure out a new normal. Do I get a say in the custody arrangement? What do you mean? I mean, do I have to live with Mom if I don't want to? I reached across the table and squeezed his shoulder. Okay, we'll make it work. What about her boyfriend? Is he still in the picture? I don't think so. You turned him against me. I didn't have to. You did that yourself. I made a mistake, Connor. One mistake in 18 years of marriage. Was it worth it? She asked. And for a moment, I thought she was talking to herself. Was destroying my life worth it? I didn't destroy your life, Stephanie. Epilogue. The new foundation. 6 months later, Jamie and I were putting the finishing touches on our new workshop. We'd bought a small house in Medford. Nothing fancy, but clean and solid with a 2-car garage that we'd converted into a proper woodworking space. I showed the message to Jamie. He read it, shook his head, and went back to sanding. You going to respond? He asked. Nope. Good. We're building something new now. I slipped out of bed, my bare feet silent on the hardwood floor. Stephanie didn't stir. The woman could sleep through a tornado, which explained how she'd managed to carry on an affair for God knows how long without losing any sleep over it. The phone screen lit up with notifications. 3 messages from Troy work at nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. Stephanie rolled toward me in her sleep, throwing an arm across my chest, the same arm that had been around another man just hours ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. Morning came like a slap. Stephanie bounded out of bed at 5:30, suddenly energetic and chatty. Good morning, honey. She kissed my forehead, all sunshine and fake smiles. Someone better be dead. My marriage is. I told him everything. Sent him the screenshots. Paul whistled low. Jesus, Con, I'm sorry, man. You've been weird lately. Smart kid. Too smart for his own good sometimes. I'm fine, buddy. Just tired. Thought maybe Jamie might want something of hers someday. Found this instead. He opened the shoe box, revealing a collection of cassette tapes, each labeled in our mother's handwriting. What are they? Personal recordings, like a diary but on tape. This had been going on for 5 years. She asked me if I'd ever cheated on your father. I was honest with her. God help me. Told her about my affair, how it nearly destroyed our marriage, how I regretted it every day. You deserve better. The tape ended with a click that seemed to echo in the silence. I stared at the photographs, my vision blurring. 5 years, 5 years of lies, manipulation, and betrayal. 5 years of me working my tail off to support our family while she was off playing house with her boss. Drove a BMW M5. Belonged to an expensive country club. The kind of guy who thought his money and looks made him untouchable. He was about to learn otherwise. That evening, Stephanie came home with another story about working late. That sounds nice, I said, playing along. When were you thinking? Maybe next month. I'll have to check my schedule. Of course, she would. They were creatures of habit, which made my job easier. Same parking spot, same entrance, same room on the 4th floor. I had photos of them entering together, timestamps, license plates, everything a good investigator needed. But photos weren't enough. I needed something more damning, more personal, something that would destroy them both completely. I need legal advice, and I need someone I can trust. Of course. What's going on? I gave her the short version. Cheating wife. Maura leaned back in her chair. What's your goal here? Quick divorce, custody fight, financial settlement. I want them destroyed, I said without hesitation. Both of them. Oversized colonial on a perfectly manicured lot. 3-car garage, elaborate landscaping. The BMW was parked in the driveway next to a white Mercedes SUV that probably belonged to his wife. I parked down the street and waited. At 3:45 p.m., a woman emerged from the house and got into the Mercedes. She stared at the photo for a long moment, then looked up at me with dawning understanding. Your wife for 5 years, apparently. Linda sank onto a bench by the front door, the photo trembling in her hands. I knew something was wrong. He's been so distant lately, working late all the time, going to the gym constantly. She kissed my cheek. Same routine as always. Interesting. I met someone new today. Oh, anyone I know? Just marriage? Just family? Just the life we built together? Stephanie was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. You don't understand. You can't take my son. Watch me. Stephanie lunged forward, grabbing my arm. Please, Connor. We can work this out. 22 years of marriage, Connor. He's about to learn what that's worth. By 9 a.m., my phone was buzzing with calls from Stephanie. I let them go to voicemail, but the messages were increasingly frantic. Connor, please call me back. You're a carpenter. You can work anywhere. But my career is specialized. Word travels fast in medical sales. No one will hire me now. People recover from affairs all the time. We could go to counseling, take a vacation, start fresh. Because you're not sorry you had the affair, Stephanie. You're sorry you got caught. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. It's a yes or no question. Do you love Troy Melman? Another pause. Yes, but I love you, too. Then we're done. The question caught me off guard. You don't want to live with your mother. Jamie was quiet for a moment, staring at the folder. She lied to you for 5 years, Dad. 5 years. He got fired, too. His wife kicked him out of their house. Jamie smiled grimly. Good. I hope they're both miserable. 5 years isn't a mistake, Stephanie. It's a choice. A choice you made over and over again. Please. She grabbed my arm, her fingernails digging into my skin. You did. I just made sure there were consequences. She looked at me with something like hatred. You're enjoying this? No, I'm not. The divorce had been finalized 3 months ago. Stephanie got half the proceeds from the house sale and spousal support for 2 years, but I got full custody of Jamie and kept my business. She'd moved to an apartment in Quincy and taken a job with a medical device company that apparently hadn't heard about her reputation. Troy Melman hadn't been so lucky. The misconduct lawsuit had cost him his career in medical sales, and Linda had taken him to the cleaners and their divorce. No room for people who tear things down. I deleted the message and put my phone away. Jamie was right. We were building something new, something solid, something that would last. And we were doing it together, one board at a time, one day at a time, with honesty and hard work instead of lies and betrayal. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was a good life. Miss you already, babe. Can't wait for Thursday. Same hotel. That thing you did with your tongue. Jesus. I've got that big presentation today. Might be late again. Another late night. I kept my voice neutral, watching her face for tells. You know how it is. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I'm not going down without a fight. You need help. You call me day or night. That's the thing about family. But I wasn't fine. I was planning. That evening, while Stephanie was presumably getting bent over a hotel room desk by her boss, I drove to Paul's house in Somerville. My brother lived in our childhood home, a 3-story Victorian that had seen better days. After our parents died in a car accident 5 years ago, Paul had inherited the place and turned into a combination conspiracy theorist headquarters and electronics repair shop. Paul picked up one labeled Connor Truth and held it out to me. This one's about you and Stephanie. My blood went cold. What do you mean? Just listen. You know what she said? She said times were different now, that people were more open about these things. Paul paused the tape. There's more. Play it. Con, you okay? I wasn't okay. I was furious. But underneath the anger was something colder, more calculating. The part of me that had been a good cop was already working, planning, strategizing. How was your day, honey? She kissed my cheek while texting someone on her phone. Fine, productive. I watched her fingers fly across the screen. Everything okay? Had to make sure it didn't conflict with her boy toys availability. Jamie appeared in the kitchen doorway, backpack slung over his shoulder. I'm going to Kevin's to work on our history project. Back by 10. Drive carefully, Stephanie called after him. That's when I remembered Stephanie's laptop. She kept it in her home office. Password protected but not encrypted. Basic security that wouldn't stop a determined ex-cop with time on his hands. While she was at work the next day, I accessed her email, her cloud storage, her social media accounts. Evidence gathered. Need to protect my son and my assets. Can you come in tomorrow morning? Bring everything you found. I'll be there. I want their reputations ruined, their careers ended, their lives turned upside down, just like they did to mine. Maura nodded slowly. I understand the anger, Connor, but we need to be smart about this. Legal revenge is the only kind that lasts. What do you recommend? Linda Melman looked like she'd stepped out of a country club catalog. Blonde highlights, yoga clothes, expensive handbag. She drove off toward what I assumed was the school pickup run. Perfect. I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. Do you have more proof? I handed her a folder containing printed emails and additional photographs. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but I thought you deserved to know. Linda flipped through the evidence, her expression hardening with each page. Linda Melman, Troy's wife. Stephanie froze, her face going pale. What? Why would you? How do you even know Troy's wife? You and I, we've grown apart. We're like roommates, not lovers. Troy makes me feel alive again. So, you decided to have an affair instead of talking to your husband about it. I tried to talk to you, but you're always in your workshop, always busy with your projects. I'll end things with Troy. We can go to counseling. Start over. I looked down at her hand on my arm, then back at her tear-stained face. It's too late for that. Something terrible has happened at work. Troy's been suspended pending investigation. They're talking about firing both of us. Please, Connor, we need to talk. I can explain everything. The narcissism was breathtaking. She'd destroyed our marriage and was worried about her job prospects. You should have thought about that before you started sleeping with your boss. Don't be crude. Crude? That's not true, isn't it? If Linda and I hadn't figured it out, you'd still be meeting Troy at hotels twice a week. You'd still be lying to my face every morning and every night. You'd still be planning your future together while pretending to love me. Stephanie opened her mouth to deny it, then closed it again. I stood up and headed for the door. Where are you going? To pick up Jamie. He's been staying at Paul's, but he needs to know what's happening. Connor, please don't turn my son against me. Every morning when she kissed you goodbye, every night when she said she loved you, every family dinner, every holiday, every birthday, she was lying. That's between your mother and me, Jamie. It doesn't change the fact that she loves you. How do I know that? If she can lie to you about something this big for this long, how do I know she's not lying to me, too? Jamie, what? They deserve to be miserable. They destroyed our family for what? Some hotel room hookups. They're selfish holes, and I hope karma hits them like a truck. I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy. I'll change careers. I'll give up Troy completely. You already lost Troy. I'm not happy that my marriage failed. I'm not happy that my son's family is broken. I'm not happy about any of this. Then why are you being so cruel? Because you spent 5 years being cruel to me. Last I heard, he was selling insurance and living in a studio apartment in River. Dad, hand me that sandpaper. I passed Jamie the 220 grit paper and watched him smooth the surface of the bookshelf we were building for his bedroom. He'd gotten good at woodworking over the past few months, patient and precise like his old man. You know what I realized? Maybe even better than what I'd had before. After all, the strongest foundations are built on solid ground, not shifting sand. My hand shook as I scrolled up through their conversation. Months of messages, dirty photos, plans, lies about where she'd be and when. My wife, the mother of my child, talking to her boss like a teenager in heat. I took screenshots of everything. My cop training kicking in even as my world crumbled. Troy's really pushing the team hard this quarter. She didn't even flinch saying his name. 18 years of marriage and she'd become a stranger. Right, Troy? I sat up, stretching. Blood runs thicker than betrayal. I spent the day in my workshop pretending to focus on a custom bookshelf for the Hendersons next door. But my mind kept wandering to those text messages. The casual cruelty of them. The way they talked about me like I was some pathetic charity case they had to tolerate. You look like heck, Paul said, opening the door before I could knock. Feel worse. I followed him into the cluttered living room, stepping over computer parts and stacks of technical manuals. "Beer, make it, too." Paul disappeared into the kitchen, giving me a moment to absorb the familiar surroundings. Paul slipped the tape into the recorder and pressed play. Our mother's voice filled the small space clear and strong despite the recording being at least 10 years old. "Connor, if you're listening to this, it means I'm gone and you finally discovered what I've known for years. Your wife is a liar and a cheat just like I was." I nearly dropped my beer. 2 months later, she came back, said she'd taken my advice, and ended things with her boss. But I could tell she was lying. She had that same glow I remembered from my affair days, that guilty excitement. I knew she was sleeping with him. The tape hissed and popped. "I need copies of everything, the tape, the photos, all of it already done." Paul handed me a flash drive. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to destroy them both." The next morning, I called in sick to the Henderson job and dedicated myself to full-time surveillance. Just work stuff. Troy's got us all scrambling on this new contract. There it was again. His name rolling off her tongue like it meant nothing. Like she wasn't planning to meet him tomorrow for another hotel room session. "And text when you get there." The maternal concern in her voice was genuine, which somehow made everything worse. She could love our son while betraying our family. Compartmentalization at its finest. After Jamie left, Stephanie suggested we watch a movie together. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. Not just affair photos and love letters, but detailed plans, discussions about leaving their respective spouses, financial calculations about divorce settlements. Stephanie had even researched apartments they could share. Schools for a potential blended family. They weren't just having an affair. "Connor, I'm sorry. I know this must be devastating." "It is, but I'm not going down without a fight." "Good, because from what you've told me, you're going to need one." Mora's law office occupied the 3rd floor of a converted brownstone in Cambridge. First, we file for divorce on grounds of adultery. In Massachusetts, that affects property division and potentially alimony. Second, we document everything for the custody hearing. Third, she smiled grimly. We make sure Troy's wife knows what her husband's been up to. Linda answered with a distracted smile. Car keys still in her hand. "Can I help you?" "Mrs. Melman, I'm Connor Dempsey." By the time she finished, the tears were gone, replaced by cold fury. That bastard. That lying, cheating bastard. She stood up, pacing the foyer. 22 years of marriage. Funny story. Turns out she's been wondering why her husband works so many late nights, especially Tuesdays and Thursdays. The color drained completely from Stephanie's face. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again like a fish gasping for air. "Connor, I can explain. When was the last time you really looked at me? Really saw me?" The gaslighting was starting just like Mora had predicted. Time to shut it down. "I saw you Tuesday night at the Marriott, room 412. It's not too late. I love you, Connor. I've always loved you." "No, you don't. If you loved me, you wouldn't have spent 5 years betraying me." The final message came at 10:30 a.m. "I'm coming home. We need to discuss this like adults." I was waiting in the living room when she arrived, looking like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Her eyes were red from crying. "You want to see Crude?" I pulled out my phone and started reading from her text messages. "I want you right now. Meet me in the supply closet. Connor's working late." We both knew I was right. "What about Jamie?" she asked finally. "What about him? He needs his mother. He needs a mother who doesn't betray her family." "I won't have to. You did that yourself." Jamie took the news better than I had expected and worse than I'd hoped. We were sitting in Paul's kitchen, the same room where our mother used to make Sunday dinners, where family problems had always been discussed over coffee and homemade cookies. "So, Mom's been cheating on you for 5 years." I didn't have an answer for that. Paul, who'd been quietly listening from the corner, spoke up. "Kid's got a point, Con. Trust is like purity. Once it's gone, it's gone." I wanted to tell him not to be so harsh, but honestly, I agreed with every word. The next few days passed in a blur of legal meetings, financial planning, and difficult conversations. Maura filed the divorce papers, citing adultery and requesting full custody of Jamie. Stephanie's lawyer tried to negotiate, but our evidence was overwhelming. The real fireworks started when Stephanie realized she was going to lose everything. His wife cleaned him out and he's facing a misconduct lawsuit at work. Stephanie's eyes widened. Misconduct? Turns out getting involved with a subordinate is frowned upon in corporate America. Who knew? The only difference is I'm being honest about it. Stephanie stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked away. I watched her get into her car and drive off, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret, no sadness, just emptiness where 18 years of love used to be. Jamie appeared beside me, having watched the whole confrontation from the window. Jamie said without looking up from his work. "What's that?" "Mom always talked about building a future, but she never actually built anything. She just talked and planned and schemed. But we actually build things.